thank you so much for joining us on our first ever podcast, Matthew. Who are we interviewing today?
So today we are interviewing Jessie Elland, who we know from playing Chloe on Emmerdale. And, but yeah, we're talking about her side hustle.
Which is very exciting. She has her first novel coming out at the age of 25. How amazing is she?
The Lady Upstairs is called, which is intriguing. We'll ask her about that title. And it's coming out early next year. So let's talk to Jessie Elland about her side hustle.
This might be fun.
Shut up!
Oh, you have to read the book to find out.
Can't use that one.
You're the one who's still in it.
Why can't you say the word research?
Research.
Go.
Done.
Right, next scene.
Right, so Jessie, thank you so much for coming in to our new podcast. Now, our idea for the show was that me and Rox have had side hustles over the years together, some separate. So we've been writing together like television scripts for about the last 6-7 years. And then we were like, what else can we do? Let's do something. Let's do a podcast. And then obviously because side hustles are kind of our thing, we thought, why don't we talk to...
I don't know if I'd say they were our thing. We've had a few creative ideas, some more successful than others. But I think what we found interesting was the fact that we've realised that so many people that we know, or that we know for certain things, like you, obviously, we know you from Emmerdale. But then if you dig a little deeper, you have a conversation, you find out that people have got lots of other passions and side hustles that are not only about what it is that they do, but about the little journey they've been on to get there. And that's why we've brought you on the show today. So obviously everyone knows you from Emmerdale, but can you take us back to the beginning? Did you...
Birth?
Let's start from birth.
So, we can edit bits out, so let's start right back. When did your mum and dad meet? No.
When did you first know that you wanted to act?
Oh, really early on. I think, do you know what I think really sold me on it was The Sound of Music. But I didn't really know that it was like a thing you could do. I was just like, I want to be a little Austrian child singing with Julie Andrews. So I loved that. And that my mum always used to put on like really old musicals and take us to see, we went to go see like Mary Poppins and Sound of Music and Chitty Bang Bang. And that was like amazing. But it wasn't something I ever thought you did. I just thought it was like people's lives. I don't know. I just didn't have that kind of, it didn't click until like year 6. So what's that like? 10 or 11?
Yeah.
And we did the Jungle Book. And I got to be Bagheera in the Jungle Book.
Who's Bagheera again? Bagheera's
the panther.
The panther.
Yeah. So I got to be the panther. And I was like, I'm having the time of my life. This is all I want to do now, forever. So it was kind of then that I was like, because I always wanted to write before.
Okay, so the writing came first for you.
Yeah.
And when did that start?
Really early on. I mean, my mum always tells people that I used to have books in my cot instead of toys, which I just think is insane. What baby does that? It's so weird.
And was that something that your mum and dad tried to instill into you by putting books in your cot? Or was it something that you as a child always remembered just loving books? Like...
Well, from my mum's story, they used to have both in my cot and they just ended up putting books in at the end because I just did not pay any attention to the toys. I would just gravitate towards these. Wow. I'm not saying it was like Dickens. It was just like, you know, them cloth little like...
You weren't Matilda. So this is like a Matilda story, isn't it?
Yeah. But it is a little bit. And I find that really interesting because not a lot of people sometimes have to search for years and it might be in middle age that they find their passion eventually. Yeah. But for you, it discovered both of your passions quite early on. Can you remember the first story that you ever wrote? Now we've heard about your first performance ever.
Oh my gosh, I have so many just like wads of A4 folded paper that are always half finished. I never finished them from the age of like 5 to God knows how long I kept it up. A lot of them were like James and the Giant Tomato, like riffs on...
Really plagiarising.
So you were kind of plagiarising Roald Dahl on these ones.
And then I remember as well, actually, I had like a series that I did. From the age of like 6 to 7. And the first one in the series is so stupid. I've got them at home.
You still got them now?
Yeah. So the first one in the series, it was called Flush of the 50s. And it was about a girl, like, flushed down a toilet and went back to the 1950s.
That's amazing.
That's a brilliant story.
I took it into school.
I took it into school as like a little show and tell thing, and my teacher, I was in year 3, so I was like 6 or 7. My teacher put it on the bookshelf and was like, oh, in quiet reading, people can read. I was like, oh, I've made it.
Wow.
I'm an author. I've
So
made
you
it.
were
My
an
book is
author
on
at
the
like
shelf.
7?
Well, in my head, I was, yeah.
That's amazing.
So and it's really funny. There was, I think in the second one, there's like these vampire bats or whatever, and my description of them was they were big and scary, like the big and scary spiders from Harry Potter 2. So,
Brilliant.
you know.
So because you knew from quite a young age what it was that you wanted to do, I think it'd be quite easy for us to presume that therefore it has been easy for you to get where you are today, like, you know, a household name in terms of your acting and a published author. Has it been plain sailing?
No, it's really, really hard because I think...
So tell us what happened after Bagheera.
After
How did you
Bagheera.
get from Bagheera to Emmerdale?
So that's when I knew that I wanted to do acting things. And my mum and dad have always been very, very supportive.
Can I ask, what do your mum and dad do?
My mum's a respiratory specialist and my dad's a builder.
Okay.
So no one kind of in the...
So neither of them so they didn't know the acting world either.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you
Which
didn't
is
know
why
the
they were a
acting
bit
world.
trepidatious about me kind of pursuing that. And
Absolutely,
they always
yeah.
had the idea that I should do something else as a backup and then pursue it.
You should have a side hustle.
Yeah,
Now the girl's got a strong hustle. She's got it.
and I was always very sciencey, very academic-y in school. So it was like, oh, maybe do something like biology or medicine or that kind of thing.
Did you find the academic side quite easy?
Yeah, I was such a nerd. I really like it. And just the structure, I was lucky in the sense that like the structure of school and exams just went in my favour. Because I think you can be really, really smart and then just not good at exams, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think doing
Yeah.
well in exams equates being smart, but luckily it kind of like, I thrived in school. I loved it. I loved learning all the time. And
Were you outgoing in school?
no. I was with friends and family and people that I knew. I was the same as I am now, but I was so shy. Every parents' evening, my mum would go and they'd be like, yeah, she knows the answer. She just doesn't put her hand up ever. She just needs to put her hand up.
Can you remember like knowing the answer and not putting your hand up and what was
Yeah.
going through your head at the
Yeah.
time?
Because I don't even know why. I was just like terrified of speak. I don't know why. It was so weird.
And do you think that's why kind of, obviously you talk about your love of reading from being like before you could even probably speak, you like loved books.
Yeah.
And do you think being shy like that and being able to take yourself away and read a book do you think that's where that came from? The fact that you could take yourself away and you could get lost in this little world of books?
Yeah, massively. And I think as well, reading about characters like Matilda or Jo March, that kind of thing, that was like, oh my God, that's what I want to be like. That's like who I want to be. And I remember my poor little sister, I used to make her play like imaginary games all the time. And I was like, well, I'm Jo March and you can be like one of the other sisters. And so you kind of, which I guess is like, maybe that's how I found getting into acting a bit. But I always just kind of liked living in these different characters' lives and reading about these different characters' lives and stuff.
So as being shy, what for you, even though you were shy, how come you could find the confidence to perform in year 6?
I don't know. I think it's that classic thing of like it's not you. That's
You
not
can
to say,
hide
you know, I was
behind the
still
character.
obviously myself, like
Yeah.
but yeah, kind of hiding behind the character. And I think on stage it's like a different, you can throw caution to the wind a lot more because it's on stage, it's a heightened reality. Do you know what I mean? It's not
And it's
kind
not
of
you. It's
Yeah.
a character.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that for a lot of actors is something you said earlier. People can often presume that actors are very confident, and actually a lot of the time it's you're hiding behind that character,
Course,
and
right,
off
yeah.
stage, you know, you can be really insecure or really
Well, I was
anxious.
going to ask that. Do you still feel like that now, even after so many years on Emmerdale? Like you're still are you more confident in front of a camera than you are kind of in your own life?
Yeah, because I think it is that heightened reality, and it's like if something goes wrong or you make a mistake or you sound a little bit silly, it doesn't matter because you're in that space where you're allowed to be creative and try different things. Whereas I think in life it's a little bit more regimented, and if you mess up, it's like
You feel you might be judged on that,
Yeah,
whereas you
yeah.
found the creative spaces, safe spaces, whether that's performing or
Yeah,
writing or
yeah.
reading, they've been places of escape and
Yeah.
exploration for you. That's so.
So if we're going to put like little pinpoints in your life, we've got the books in the cart, we've got Bagheera on stage. What was the next kind of, obviously going to uni to do sciences, and then what was the next kind of big
Oh wait,
thing?
no.
Go for it.
Before that, didn't you go to a private school at one point.
Yes. So I went to...
So you've done Bagheera.
Yeah, so I did Bagheera. I knew that's what I wanted to do. Didn't know how to do it. And my mum and dad were like, this is great that you have this passion, but get a little backup first. So I was like, okay. So I did my GCSEs, and that was at state school. And there's a local private school, and I went to go see their musical. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I want to do that. But private school, expensive. It wasn't something that was ever a possibility. But then I found out they did scholarships. So I applied for a scholarship.
Did you find that out yourself, or did you get your mum to find out?
Yeah, I found it out myself.
How industrious at such a young age. I love how focused you
how
were
old
from
were you
being
then?
so young.
I'll have been about 15 going on 16 in the GCSEs.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was just probably smoking fags and drinking cider, and she was finding out about scholarships. I love that. Go on. So what happened next?
Yeah, so I had to go for an interview and stuff for that, and they were like, why do you want to go to this school? And I was like, yeah, the education, the teaching, in my head I was like, musical. I just want to be
on the
musical.
stage.
So I went there, did a year
So you got
there.
the scholarship?
And then, yeah, got the scholarship, yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, went there, did a year there, and then it was time for the musical, and the musical was Guys and Dolls, and I auditioned for that and got Adelaide, which I don't know if
Do you
you know
remember
it, but-
auditioning for that, and do you remember feeling like, if I don't get a part in this, all is lost?
Yeah, but luckily got the part that I wanted. And I remember on opening night being like, this is such a big deal, because if this goes wrong, or if, like, in myself, I'm like, I can't do this, I've got stage fright or something like that. That scuppers, like, my life plans type thing.
Yeah, at 16
Not to be
it
dramatic,
would be
but-
over. Everything you'd worked for and your future would be over.
Yeah, but luckily, went on stage, wasn't nervous. It went really well. And I got to show it to my family, and they were like, okay, right, yeah, maybe go do it.
Get it now.
So that wasn't
Yeah.
just like a change for you, that was also like a moment for them where they really saw your passion come to life.
And I got so much confidence off it as well. Like I just got so much more confident off stage, weirdly. It really, I think finding your passion and finding something that you really, really love, it just brings out a type of confidence in people.
I think that's something that we were talking about earlier as well, talking about when you pursue your passion, when you find something that you're passionate about, it doesn't have to make any money. It doesn't have to be seen by lots of people. It can be something so small, but if it's something that you're doing that you're passionate about, I really think it like helps your mental health.
Yep.
It's great for your soul.
Yeah.
And it's like connecting with your true self, isn't it? Without sounding too,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, it is, and it's. I was going to ask about your parents, because I remember when my parents first saw me on stage, and there's no acting in my family, and I started doing Amdram, and they first came to see me, and it was that moment of them going, wow, like, you're quite good. You're really good. And was there a big shift in their kind of thought towards you wanting to be an actor when they actually realised how bloody good you were on stage?
I think there was definitely I definitely noticed a change in them being like, you need a backup, think about that, to then being like, okay, yeah, do
Maybe
it.
you can do this,
Yeah,
yeah.
they've always been very, very supportive and like very proud. And it makes me emotional to talk about, I think, because I think everything that I kind of do, I'm pursuing it because I'm passionate about it, but also I'm like, I just want to make like my mum and dad really proud.
Yeah.
Stop it, you're going to make me cry. That's so sweet. But it's so nice that you've got such a nice relationship with them, and I feel like,
Yeah, they're like two of my best friends.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love that. And so did you do Amdram outside or after your performance in, is it Guys and Dolls?
Guys and Dolls, yeah.
So you hadn't done anything before?
That was my first
That was your first big musical?
I'd done like little stage school.
Well, you've done Bagheera. Let's not forget Bagheera.
Done Bagheera.
That was nailed. So after Bagheera, it was Guys and Dolls, and then you were 16, and then you were out in the big wide world, and then you went to university.
Yeah, I went to Manchester University to do anthropology.
Like every actor and writer
Could
does.
I ask what anthropology is, please?
Is a very good question. I dropped out of after a week, so this is not going to be a perfect answer, but it's just kind of the study of humans, basically.
Is it?
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
is
think
really,
it was that,
really
you know.
interesting. It is really.
What did you think it was? Come on, Rox.
I might be wrong. I only did it for a week, so you know.
thought like anthropology, because people say, oh, she's an anthropologist. I thought that was giving money to charities to be an anthropologist.
That's a philanthropist.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. That's where you've got mixed up.
Yeah. That's where I've got mixed up. And then I thought it was also maybe like the study of like the rainforest.
Do you know what? I'd have gone more down that route. Like,
Yeah, it does
anthropology.
sound- yeah.
Rainforest.
Might
I
sound
saw
more-
lizards. and leaves.
Okay.
Do you know
See
what I mean?
lizards all the time.
That's what you need on the painting.
Lizards and leaves. That's what I saw in my mind. I was like, right, so you went to study them lizards and all those leaves.
Right, so after studying leaves and
humans.
lizards.
Yeah, humans. It is really interesting because it's just like about human society and how's that developed over time and human relationships with each other. It is cool, but not what I wanted to do.
So
really.
do you remember the moment when you realised, right, I've signed up for this course, I'm here, I've arrived, I've got my qualifications, oh my gosh, this is absolutely not what I want to do. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, pretty quickly.
First time you sat down in a
Yeah, I was
lecture
kind
hall
of like,
and
there's a Roald Dahl quote, and I'm going to kind of butcher this a little bit, but the gist of it is either do something and be boiling hot or be freezing cold. Lukewarm is no good. And I just...
Oh, I love that. It gave
I
me
was
a little
like, yeah,
goosebump.
it is a great quote. I love
Yes!
it. And I was like, do you know what? If I want to pursue what I want to pursue, what's the point of not doing it 100%?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'd emailed the dean or the head of drama, I can't really remember, and I was like, please, will you let me do your course? And luckily they said yes, thank God. And I
Why did they
switched over
say
to
yes?
that.
And also, did you speak to anyone? Did you speak to your mum? Did you speak to friends? Or did
Oh,
you
yeah,
just
yeah.
have that
I speak
idea
to my mum
you
and
took
dad the whole
action?
time, and they were giving loads of advice. And I'd emailed all teachers because it was a very... it was like a theory course. It wasn't really practical drama. You did a lot of film studies, and it was very written.
So
it
didn't
wasn't
have to-
performance-based.
Yeah, I was going to say you
it
didn't have to
wasn't
do an
performance
audition
at all.
or
No.
anything
So I went to my
Can
old
I ask,
teachers.
sorry, why you went for that course rather than trying to go... Because, sorry, even though I know this, when you say you did a drama course at Manchester, I imagine you on the stage straight away with scripts performing. Why did you go for this course instead of trying to do a performance-based course?
Because I was locked into kind of the
Academic.
uni at that time, but
Okay.
also prior to that, I couldn't. Drama school is so expensive, and you have to pay to audition, which is just
You didn't go to
crazy.
drama school, did you?
No, did
you
you?
learnt. We learnt on the streets.
On the streets,
yeah,
baby.
That's
Yeah.
how we do. Anyway, back to you. So tell us about this course. Like, what does it look like to do a kind of a straight, more academic drama course?
I loved it because, like I said, I was a massive nerd and really liked reading, and I love cinema as well. So a lot of it was film studies. We actually did a module on British soaps.
Did
you? Was Matthew in it? Because he was in it.
I can't remember. Do you know what I should?
Loved it.
Try and find
Please
like the
find
yeah.
it. Can you
But we got to do that
imagine?
like the Sopranos, and then obviously
Oh my
like
God,
the
you would
theatre
have
and
been in it.
dramaturgy
And I
side
would
and
have
stuff.
been in it.
Yeah, you would have both been in it.
Did you do Emmerdale at all?
I can't remember. That's really bad. I should know, but I can't remember.
You need to look back at your
you
notes
please
and
dig
send
it
us
out?
some.
I will,
Because
I'll
if there's a
find
picture
it.
of Layla and David in David's shot, I
Imagine.
would be so thrilled.
Cut to now.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously you did that. Was it a 3-year course?
Yeah, 3 years.
Did you do any acting while you were doing it?
I did the Musical Theatre Society, and then while I was in Manchester as well, started doing little acting classes
Okay.
on the side. as
Amazing.
well. Yeah, which was
And
good.
how
just
did you
like
find
little
that?
private.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to ask, they were just like little private classes that you took yourself off to, like evening. classes?
Yeah, evening classes. There were some that were group ones, and then
How did you find the groups? Were you shy when you were joining the groups, or were you confident because it felt like a creative space, or did it take a while? What was your experience like with doing that?
I was shy, but I have this weird thing. I don't know if you ever have it, especially with kind of like auditions and things, where you feel nervous and you might feel a bit reserved, but as soon as you get up to the little performance space or stage or whatever it is, you're like, oh, actually, it's fine because I know what I'm doing and I know that I've got this in me and I know I can do it.
Amazing.
So I was kind of like shy in the little when we had to go around and introduce ourselves
You're
and
hot
sit in
and
this
cold.
round thing. And then we got in the middle and had to do script. I was like, okay, this is fine. This is where I'm comfortable with.
isn't
And then
that
it kind of
funny?
grew with confidence the more I did as
The
well.
more you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were you writing at that time when you were at uni?
So I had the idea for my book when I was in uni.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you remember the moment it landed, or when you started? Tell us about
because
that.
the idea for it came from, I went to go see La La Land. And just a disclaimer, my book is nothing like La La Land. Like, it could be more different. But the thing that inspired me was I loved that film. And I was like, it's a girl who wants to be an actress, who's got ginger hair, who is just surrounded by jazz and like old
Could it
Hollywood
be any more
movies.
you?
and then in the film, she wants to be an actress. She writes herself a one-woman play, and then that gets, I can't remember, it gets picked up, or she gets seen in it in an audition off the back of that. I was like, oh, well, I'll just do that. Because I didn't have, I didn't know anyone in the industry. I didn't know how to get started. I hadn't gone to drama school. I hadn't been a child actor. I didn't know how else to do it. So I was like, well, that seems easy. So I sat down and I was like, I know at some point I wanted to do a period drama. maybe like something a little bit dark and dramatic. So that's what I'll write. And I started writing and I was like, yeah, I can't write a play.
Oh my gosh,
I can't do this.
I've just thought your book that you've written, which we'll get to eventually, is going to get picked up, it's going to get made, and you are going to play the lead role. I've said it here.
This
when
is
it
like a little
happens,
manifestation.
That is happening, isn't it? That's going to happen. Amazing. Back
That
to
would
this
be
story,
nice. But
please.
originally
Go.
it was a play. Started writing it, I was like, yeah, I don't know how to do this at all. And then how would I put it on by
As
myself?
in structurally, you were like, where do I begin?
Yeah, and I
this?
just couldn't. A one-woman show or one-person show must be, it's like an extraordinary feat. I don't know how people, especially when they write it themselves and then perform it themselves, I don't understand how people do it because I could not. And I was like, yeah, I need to give that up. That's not going to work. But then I really liked the idea that I'd kind of come up with and a few of the characters and the situation and a bit of the story that I had. So I was like, well, maybe I'll just kind of write it as a little book, just because I've always done that through my life, just kind of write little bits and bobs. They've never come to fruition or even finished, but
So
it's
you've
just
never
out of
finished
enjoyment.
anything before this novel?
Never, no.
Never finished
It's the
anything?
first thing I finished,
So
yeah,
you started
yeah.
writing it really back in uni. So how old were you then?
So I'll have been about 20, 19.
So what happened in between being 19, 20 and actually now almost finishing the book? What happened within that kind of 6-year period?
I tried chipping away at it, but I felt I didn't really give myself permission to write it because I felt like when I was in uni, obviously I had to concentrate on coursework and I had like little odd jobs on the side, and then I finished uni, I had quite a few odd jobs, and I did a side hustle. I did watercolour paintings as a side hustle.
No way, you sold watercolour paintings?
yeah.
What? Do you paint as well?
You can
Musical
do the backdrop. Yes, we have our painter. Never mind telling us to go away and use our hands when you know what you're doing.
Hang on a second. Can I just let's rewind a little bit? So do you still paint now?
Not as much as I used to, but it's something like that I like doing, yeah.
Wow, that's
I never
incredible.
knew that. I know. She's got all these creative spaces. Isn't it good?
So yeah, I did that and then had different jobs alongside that. So I felt like I couldn't
And your work
justify.
sold?
Yeah, it's
I
sold
love that
little
you're just a
paintings, yeah.
casually a successful
throw
artist
that in.
as well.
Successful is a big word, but
you
because
sold work.
because every time I would sit and write, I'd be like, well, actually, I should be finishing that painting that I need to do, and I should be working on this project that I've got with the job that I had. So I didn't really give myself permission until I booked Emmerdale, had this kind of free time in the dressing room, travelling, because I got trains to work and stuff all the time. And I was like, okay, now I can write. So it was only then that I really started actually writing it.
So you were getting paid to work, you were getting paid to do your watercolours, but you weren't getting paid to write this book. So you were obviously, that always takes a back burner, doesn't it? Because that's, if you're not making money out of it, and that's what we've talked about when we're writing scripts for original stuff. You spend hours and hours and hours and hundreds of hours of time writing this stuff that you're not getting paid for.
And also, I think that's when sometimes your insecurities can really creep in, because if you have a deadline for something, if someone's asked you to write something, there's an urgency to it and you know you have to deliver it. Whereas when you're writing or creating whatever it is, purely out of passion, there's that voice of like, well, why are you doing it? No one's going to like it. Or what's the point? You know, that wasn't very good.
It is the
and
what's
it's
the point,
really
yeah.
easy to kind of lose confidence in your passion. And I just want to take you back a minute, because we've got to you starting at Emmerdale, but when we did our little research chat yesterday,
Say that again.
research chat.
Why can't you say the word research?
Research.
No.
Research.
I thought this was a special podcast term that I just didn't know. I was
Research.
like, yeah, research.
When we did our research chat yesterday, I was really struck by how confident you are as a young woman. And you seem to be someone who really knows yourself, and in a completely, not in the least bit arrogant, just very comfortable in your own skin and in your talents, and you have a really good self-belief and drive and focus. And I asked you, has it always been like that? And you said no. And I asked you to identify like 2 points when you felt that really shifted.
Yeah.
And one of them was Bagheera, which we've heard about.
No, one of them was the
Guys and
6 foot
Dolls.
Guys and Dolls.
Guys and Dolls was the big
I wish it was
moment.
Bagheera, bloody hell. I wouldn't be able to fit my head through the doors if I'd had that shift that early on in my life.
At 8 years old. But then you said at university, that was then challenged, that self-confidence.
Yeah.
And can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I think it's really important for people to hear about those times as well. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
Because I know I
definitely,
have them with anything that I want to do.
Yeah. it's just, I got imposter syndrome, I think, massively. I think the first bit was kind of just general shyness.
So you'd come off the back of Guys and Dolls.
Yeah, so that I got confidence off that.
You joined the uni and you were like, no, I'm going to change. I'm going to do drama.
Yeah.
And then you arrived at drama and what was different about it? What was the challenging things for you?
It was, I think I come from quite a small place. So it was kind of going from a little pond to this huge ocean. And I think when you come from a small place or just generally in life, you're in a bit of an echo chamber. You know, you surround yourself with like-minded people, with family, friends. So that was kind of like the very small environment I grew up in, and then going to this huge ocean that was university, and you get people from all different backgrounds and you meet amazing people. But I just remember feeling so overwhelmed that a lot of people had come from like very affluent backgrounds and just had different... I just remember that they were talking about so many things I'd never heard of before. And I was like, who am I to try and write a book when I don't even know, X, Y, Z? Right. I just it was a massive imposter syndrome.
In terms of people using more sophisticated language or having what appeared to be maybe more sophisticated experiences or literary knowledge. So you felt that for the first time, you felt maybe less than.
Yeah. Which is so, looking back now, I'm like, oh God, I wish I knew that there's so many different types of knowledge. There's so many different types of intelligence. And I think while, these big, amazing words and the flowery descriptions are amazing as well, I think there's something so nice in simplicity. And I think it's easy to forget in those spaces when you get overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, I have to know about this and I have to be able to speak about this. It's nice just to be able to... And there's I don't know if it's a saying, but they say that everyone's kind of got one book in them. I don't think you have to do, because I haven't done English since I was 16. I didn't do it past GCSE. And that played into the imposter syndrome bit as well. But I think anyone can write. I think especially if you're a reader, you're a writer.
I agree with if you're a reader, you're a writer. And you said this before, that because I want to ask you about how you knew how to structure a novel, because to me...
Oh, wait. Can I just...
Do that.
Yeah. So that was your first big moment, Guys and Dolls, university, imposter syndrome, bit of a step back, blow to the confidence. What then for you created the shift into you suddenly realising that you as a performer, that you as a writer have licence and should take up space in the world?
I think it was a gradual shift. So, doing like the acting classes, and I made a wonderful friend called Karen Henthorne, who was like really, really supportive with acting stuff and helped me so much. And then, but the thing that was really the last
cherry on the cake.
Yeah, that's such a good way of putting it. Yeah, the cherry on the cake that really kind of made the switch was getting Emmerdale, because I was like, I've achieved this. That, I don't know, it did kind of instill me with this kind of...
It was another Guys and Dolls moment.
It was another Guys and Dolls moment.
Yeah.
And how many auditions? Because obviously you hadn't trained you trained in theory and you'd done your classes on the side, but that's not like a 3-year training that some people have, is it? So you kind of came out into the big wide world and then went, right, I've got to audition for stuff now. How many auditions did you have before you got Emmerdale?
So Emmerdale was my first in-person audition.
No way.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Were you nervous? Were you really nervous? Or...
I was a little bit nervous. I think I'd have to be like psychotic not to be a little bit nervous. But I think because it was my first thing and I'd never been on a TV set before, I'd never been around like proper TV cameras, that I was just like, oh no, that's a lie. I have been around TV cameras before this. I'd never been in an audition environment. Yeah. Because I'd done a teeny little, like a 2-line thing, but that was a self-tape audition.
Right.
So I hadn't had like an in-the-room audition where I was going on to these sets like we know them.
Yeah.
But I think because I was so excited by that, I didn't have chance to be as nervous as I maybe should have been.
Did you think that there was any chance you were going to get it?
I think you can't walk into those situations without tricking yourself that, I will get this. But then afterwards, I was like, do you know what? I don't know if I will or not, but if I don't, I've had such a good time and I've kind of had it affirmed to me that I like this environment. This is an environment I want to try and be in professionally.
And how many auditions was it? Obviously not just one. Did you have like...
So I had a self-tape, And then, because it was COVID, so mine was very different from everyone else's experience. I had a self-tape, then that audition, and then I waited a week, found out that I got it, and then I think a week later or something like that I was filming, which was insane.
What?
Yeah.
And do you know, it's for people that don't know, like it's quite an intimidating environment. Is filming a soap because it's multi-camera.
Yeah.
It's fast.
And I'd come from doing Amdram theatre and Amdram musical theatre where, you know, you've got 3 months at a time to be like, right, maybe we try do this, and what is your character feeling in this moment? And there's a lot of back and forth discourse. So I was like, oh, it's going to be like this. And I remember it was in COVID
You've got
as well.
40 minutes to
so
film
it's kind of
scene.
like, you stand there, camera this, the camera that, go,
Done.
right, next scene.
Yeah.
What? I thought that was the rehearsal. That's going on TV.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because like you say, when you are doing theatre and stuff, you get all that time to think about character and think about, and you're put in a situation, especially like in Emmerdale, where the director doesn't decide that for you. You have to come up with all that yourself.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
in theatre, the director will put that in your head.
Yeah.
Like, this is the character, and you work on character a lot. On Emmerdale, it's like...
It's your responsibility to
But do you know what I think
creative.
is we are so lucky to have with soaps, and especially for someone that like me that didn't have kind of formal training and was like learning on the fly, was that it was, you know, you'd film something and then 4 or 6 weeks later, whatever it was, it would come out, and then you'd still be filming when it was out. You'd be able to watch it, as painful as it was to watch it on screen. You'd be able to watch it and be like, I didn't like this. I'm going to go in tomorrow and try something different.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you could
I
kind
love
of...
how you've always you've been so focused and so you really don't shy away from challenging yourself and growing, which I just think is really commendable, because I often find myself, if I've done something, I'll never watch it. I just want to hide from it, and I'm like, it's done now.
It is.
And
It's
I never
awful.
want
I
to sit and
can't
watch
bear
it, but I
watching
love
it.
the fact that you go, no, this is my work. Let me sit down. Let me see what I don't like, and then let me be constructive about that. And I think that is for such a young person, you adult really well. And I think it's really inspiring to see in such a young person that you have this kind of approach to your passions. Going back to your passions, can we go back to the passions? Can we go back to the book?
Let's go back to the book. Yeah, so Emmerdale
What's it
started.
called?
It's called The Lady Upstairs.
I want to ask you about this title. 'Cause
Yeah.
the way you've spelt lady...
Yeah. Oh, you have to read the book to find out.
Do
You have to read the book.
right. So for anyone, well, when's the book out? So you've got the
So it's
book
out
deal.
early next year. I've got the UK deal is with Baskerville, so it's going to be out in the UK next year, start of next year.
Oh, can
And
I
it's
just ask?
called-
Sorry.
And it's called The Lady Upstairs.
Yeah.
But lady, you've spelled Ladie.
Yeah.
And I Googled it this morning. It's like an obsolete word now. Is obsolete the right word?
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't really exist anymore. It's an old-fashioned way of spelling lady, isn't it? And I was going to ask you why you spelled it like that, but you're not going to tell me, are you?
So read it and find out.
So can you tell us briefly what the book's about? Because I think, and I don't know how it's going to work when we put the podcast up, but I feel like if you click, there'll be a clip that you use. You know, like, have a listen. And I think this would be a really good section to use, wouldn't it? So
gosh.
tell us what your
This
book's
is like
about.
my elevator pitch.
This is
I
it.
can't
Yeah,
do
let's
to
hear
camera.
it. Let's
I
hear it.
can't do to camera.
Pretend we're
That's so-
publishers. So, thanks for coming in, Jessie. I don't know
This
what
is
we're
the
talking about
worst bit, though. There's nothing more embarrassing than coming up with something that's completely fictional in your head for years on end and then having to talk to it about other people. It's mortifying.
No, it's not.
I don't know why.
It's not.
It's exciting, but so it's a little bit of a mashup of like Gothic literature.
So Gothic literature, just to be clear, which I learnt yesterday, means kind of moody, a little bit mystical, a little bit dark,
Mary
like
Shelley
Victorian
kind of
yeah,
style.
I mean, probably not as good as her,
like
but that
a bit
vibe,
thrillery.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a bit of that, a little bit of horror, which is crazy to me
Like
because
gory horror or ghosty horror.
maybe a little bit of
sexy
both.
horror.
A little bit of both, which is crazy because I am terrified by horror films. I cannot watch a horror film. So I don't know how
Really?
I've managed to create this horror adjacent book. Anyway, so a bit of Gothic, bit of horror and historical as well. So it's set in this place called Ropner Hall, which is, you're not really meant to know where it is or what time it is. And it follows Anne, who's a servant in the hall, and she's having an awful time. It's kind of just this horrendous place to be, and she's living this horrendous life. But the one thing that's keeping her going is this idea of the ladies upstairs. To her, that's like the pinnacle of purity and goodness and just everything she wants. And then she has a chance encounter with one of the ladies, and it follows from there, and it twists, take a lot of dark
So
twists and turns.
does Anne want to be one of the
Wow.
ladies upstairs?
You'll have to read
Is
it.
there a chance? Is there a chance that Anne can make it upstairs?
You'll have to read it and find out. I don't want to spoil anything.
I'm so excited. So where are you in the process of like getting it edited now?
Oh wait, no. Let's go. We're getting less and less polite as it goes along. We'll be pushing each other off.
Shut up!
Maybe you need like a little wrestling ring in here just to like let off steam and then do the
camp. That's worse than the hand painting. But no, I was going to say, just back to like getting it finished before she takes it into the publishers.
Yep.
So you're in Emmerdale, you've got these pockets of time. Do you remember when you first opened your laptop and started writing?
Do you know what? I was probably a year in. Because I was concentrating so much on settling in.
I was going to say, you need to find your feet
finding my feet, definitely. So it was probably, it probably was about a year in.
And then once you started writing, how long did it take you to finish the novel?
So what's really funny is I actually didn't finish it until last year. Because I'd just done it as a little bit of a hobby, and then I was like, actually, maybe I should take this a little bit seriously. And kind of my goal shifted from writing a book to getting a literary agent and getting a publisher. So I was like, maybe I should.
Why did that goal
really
shift?
Seriously. Because I think in my heart of hearts, I knew it was something that I always wanted to do. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet and have it be this book, that this is the one that I try and get published. And if it doesn't work out, I've had a really good time writing it. I've learned so much, and I can start a new project, and that can be the one that I try and get published and stuff.
So where are you with it now? Like in terms of, I know that it's going to be released
Start of next year.
Start of next year. So you're obviously going through like an editing process now and just getting it absolutely finalised. So where are you with it now? Is it almost done?
So it's completely finished. The book, it has to, when you submit fiction, you have to submit
to the agents.
Yeah. It has to be a completely finished manuscript. Unless you're already established and you've written stuff before. You have to submit a finished manuscript.
Okay.
So finished it in like May time last year. Submitted it in June, which was such a funny experience because obviously I got rejected from agencies and stuff.
How many?
But I'm used to like
Was it a lot,
acting rejections, which is kind of like, no, we don't like you, or you're too tall, or it's very kind of, specific, a bit brutal.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it's like, they're so lovely that they didn't feel like rejections. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much nicer. But there's still rejections, but they're just...
So was the rejection, this is interesting actually, the rejection as an actor, sometimes it can kind of hit you hard and it's a bit like, oh.
Yeah.
But with your book, obviously you've spent so many years doing that. It becomes really precious to you, doesn't it? So did them knockbacks hurt, or was it kind of like, no, next one, next door to knock on?
It didn't hurt as much because this is so nerdy, but I had a huge spreadsheet. So I could and then I would go get rejected and be like, right, that's a little red mark. And I'd have the date that I submitted it and who I'd submitted it to, and ridiculous. But I could see all the ones that I still had left. So there was always a little bit of hope.
How many red lines did you get until you got yours?
A lot of red lines. And then I got a few that liked it and wanted to read more and stuff. Because you only submit a little bit of your book, and then if they like it, they'll say, "Can we read the full thing?" And then if they like that, you have a meeting.
How many
with
full
them.
thing requests did you get? Was there a couple?
Oh yeah, there was a few.
So
I
there were
had a
these
few
things
different
of
meetings
hope
with people.
before the red line, and then it'd move on. Okay, wow, what a journey.
So it's really interesting. And I think as well, as someone that's liked books all their lives, it's really cool getting to see the behind the scenes of what happens to get a deal. And then when you've got that, what happens with the publisher. And it's really, really cool, really, really interesting.
Oh, it's amazing.
I can't believe you finished it in May and then got an agent in June.
Yeah, I got an agent in June, July, I think. I
want
it was July,
us to finish
actually.
a script in there and get it commissioned in June. Can we
love that.
please try and do
I'd
that?
love that.
Let's be
It
more
is amazing,
Jessie.
though.
We need to get that on t-shirts.
I was just thinking, so very first audition, get
Got
the
it.
job.
Yeah, very first
book you've
novel.
learned, got it.
I think that's all the luck I've been allotted in life. I think from now on, it's just downhill
Do you
from
know
here.
One thing that's really struck me about you is not only your dedication and your focus, but also the joy with which you apply yourself. Even if, and you don't feel completely goal oriented. So even if you're going into an audition and you go, yeah, I am good enough to do this, but if I don't get this, I'm grateful for the experience and I'm going to try and learn something from it.
Because you learn so much out of situations
I think
like
it's your joy of learning and the joyfulness with which you move through this industry that I think you'll just continue to be lucky. I think your book's going to get made into
It's
a
not
film.
luck, is
I
it?
think it's not.
It's talent.
It's talent, but it's also, I feel like the magic of the universe. I'm going to go ahead and just say that. I feel like when you're putting out that kind of energy, which is full of gratitude and excitement, and I think that draws good things to you. Whereas I think for me, looking back, a lot of the time, whenever I went into an audition with a little bit of joy and a little bit more like, I'm not bothered if I get it, I'll just do my best. They're the ones I would always get.
You give yourself breathing space when I can't like claim this idea, but it's something that really helped me and change my perspective. It's in Bryan Cranston's A Life Apart, so his autobiography, and he says something about you should treat each audition like a performance. Like, you're doing this because you like performing. So go into that room and be like, right, this is, it's a one night only performance of this script. I'm going to go in and do it, and then it's one night only, so you forgot about it. And if you get a recall, great, you've got a second night, you're doing it.
You're giving yourself license to be creative, because often you'll go into an audition, and I remember always thinking, how do they want me to do it? Because I could do the audition 50 different ways, but I don't know what you want, and you're not giving me the notes. So you actually take in a lot of doubt. Whereas if you're approaching it with, this is just my one shot, I'm just going to enjoy it as much as I can, then I think you make choices. And I think that gives a stronger performance. But I love that you've come to so many realizations so young. I think it's fantastic.
And how does it feel now, kind of wrapping it all up, going from books in a cart, you taking solace in books all your life growing up, and you still do now because you've got a book club.
Tell us about the book
with
club.
Izzy, Eden and Daisy. Yeah, it's called Rather Be Reading, and it's so fun. It's so fun. I think it's been nearly going for a year.
Wow. And have you got an Instagram that you want to shout out?
Yeah, we've got an Instagram. Ratherbereading.bc, I think.
Cool.
We'll put it in the things.
Yeah.
So books have been your life, really, and now you having taken solace in books, and now you have done that, and other people are gonna be reading your book and take kind of solace in that.
You're creating these magical worlds for other people now.
Oh, stop! That's gonna make me cry.
That must be an amazing feeling.
It's not something that I've processed at all. Like, when I got an agent, I was like, it's going to sink in, once I get a deal. And I got a deal, and I was like, well, it's going to sink in when I can announce it. And I announced it a few months ago, and I was like, well, it's going to sink in when I hold the first copy of it. And then
when you hold the first copy, will you send us copies?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Are you going to do that thing where you go in where they're printing it off and you see it come down the line? Do you know?
I've already got my dad, 100%, but my dad's got a photo of me in Waterstones, like, pointing at the little bit of the shelf where it'll, like, be...
I
love that so much. I love that so much.
But even now, I feel like it's so surreal. I feel like I'm like fibbing about it. It's actually one massive.
If you had to say like
April
one
Fools,
word that you would use to sum up your feeling about this whole experience with the book and little, what would it be?
Just surreal. I can't think of any other way of putting it than surreal. It's so cliche, and I feel like as an author, I should be able to like think of a better word, but I can't.
Well, you'd have to write it down, wouldn't you? Right. Okay. Well, Jessie, thank you so much for coming in and telling us about your side hustle. And tell us again when the book's out.
Start of next year.
Tell us again what it's called.
Lady Upstairs.
Go buy
The
it,
Lady
everybody.
Upstairs.
Yeah. Oh, is there a pre-order link that we can put in?
Not yet, unfortunately.
But maybe there will be by the time we do. So have a look for the link.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you for doing our very first podcast.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for asking me. Thanks for thinking of me.
Thank you.
Asking me.
Thanks for
I think
coming.
it's such a great idea.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
It's been
Thank
good.
you.
It's been good. Give me some of that. End. Right. So we've done the interview.
I think it went quite well.
Yeah?
Do you think it went well?
I hope you think it went well.
Yeah, and just please let us know what you liked about it, or if you want to see more of something, because we are learning as we go.
Absolutely. And don't forget to press the like button as
And
well.
the follow button. Like, even if you didn't like it, still press follow. It helps us out. Just help us out.
I think it was pretty good, yeah?
I liked it.
Give me another one of them. Let's go.
You smashed it. That was so good.
Oh, was
that
it?
you wouldn't
Thank
know
you.
that was your first
Oh, bless you.
thing
Thank
of doing
you.
it.
And so, honestly, we've really enjoyed talking to you.